nowadays it's so easy to forget the, like, I guess, commitment that things require in order to become comfortable with them or become good at them. And that's be it music or writing or relationships or, that's really anything. And we're so accustomed now to like getting things, to just having experiences be so like easy and accommodating.
It's true.
So yeah, that's something that I'm constantly like challenging myself to do, because I'm still, as a performer, I'm still not at the place where I want to be or where I know I can be or envision myself to be, but still gotta like just enjoy the ride and the moments, right? Because that's what makes those individual performances like good, is that you're there and you're present and you're being free then and there. And so just have to like let yourself be what you are in that moment, so then like you can show up the same way in the next, and then until it all of a sudden you find yourself feeling a lot more comfortable.
Nikki Morgan, what's up?
Hey. Hi.
Glad to have you in the studio.
I'm so glad to be here.
Yeah.
I have wanted to be here for a while, and I feel like y'all always have like very interesting conversations, and I'll always anticipate y'all being like really, really, really funny, even though I don't know. Not
No
y'all being funny, but
anything.
like myself, I always felt like I had to be funny, but I don't think that's necessary. Y'all have pretty rich discussions.
Sometimes, yeah. Or sometimes it's just nonsense, but it could go either way.
We pick up the crazy ones,
So you've been in Nashville recently, right?
Yeah. I was there for a couple of weeks, and I've been finding myself there more frequently. And I was just there for a good bit of the month of February, and that was pretty cool, just filling it out.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Now, are you up there with a label, or is it just on your own, or how does that work?
Oh, by myself. I do everything by myself still.
Okay.
Yeah, and so I be like moving pretty intuitively, and I just felt like I needed to spend a little bit of time in Nashville, and I ended up after I had planned to be there, I ended up getting a really cool show at this place called the Bluebird Cafe, which is, I guess it's a pretty like iconic spot in Nashville, and so I did do that.
That's
And
cool.
I met some cool folks and just kind of did stuff.
Nice. And just so people know, you're a singer-songwriter, and I actually met you, I guess it was 3 years ago when I first started. It was fairly shortly after I'd started comedy, and I was doing stand-up over at the Westerwood Tavern, and they had an open mic, and it was like a music and comedy mic. It was really a music mic, and they'd let comedians do sets, which everybody hated, but we'd ruin the music. But I saw you, and I was like, whoa, like this is a really good musician. And then that's where I met Bo James also with Chuck Mountain, and there was a lot of really good musicians that would perform at that mic, and I was really surprised. I was like, oh, these are like professional musicians working on new material and stuff. It was really cool. But so I'm glad we were able to finally get you in the studio to learn more.
Yeah. I was that night was like one of the first, because like, okay, so I'm a musician, singer, songwriter, but I mostly did it in Chicago. But even though I'm from North Carolina, so when I met you, I had like just come back to North Carolina, like literally had just come back, and was trying to like figure out how to play in places. And it was really good to meet you, and I'm so glad that we like stayed connected one way or another, because I actually think that music and comedy kind of go really well together.
Sure.
And because you were so I ended up, fast forward a couple of years from that open mic, I created this, I guess, an iteration of this thing that I've been working on for a little while. It's like the Kickback. It's a variety show that I host and I curate. And I was able to start that this past year. And it's like a variety show. So I'll do like a number of different acts and they'll come on and I'll maybe do something with them. But, for the most part, everybody gets like a little 20, 25 minute time slot to do whatever they want. And I've had like musicians, comedians. I've had like even just like writers who do like theater or other kind of like performative art. But every time I've made it a point to include like a stand-up comedian or some kind of comedy component, and it's always really cool. And I think like, it
was fun. I really enjoyed doing your show. It was a lot of fun. It was a great crowd too. The audience was awesome, and it was a cool venue.
It was a really cool place.
Yeah,
that's right. Seth was there.
Yeah, Doodad Farms. It was cool.
Yeah, very cool place. Yeah.
Yeah. Shout out to Doodad Farm. That was really cool. And that was my first time being able to do that here in North Carolina. But it's something about like music will open you up.
Yes.
And then like you need the comedy to like breathe for a second, because sometimes the music is like, it becomes a lot, and then you have that kind of like comedy relief. Yeah, music and comedy go together.
When I was a kid, when I was 16, I bought a guitar and I started playing back then. But that was in the 90s, so it was more difficult to learn because we didn't have the internet. We didn't have YouTube and all these resources like we have today. And I kind of just let it go after a few years, and learned some basic stuff, and I would just play just for myself. And a few years ago, I think back in like 2000, maybe 17 or 18, I bought a drum kit and started playing the drums some. And it was a real good way for me to sort of get into a creative flow state. And I would just start playing music before I would write. And it would help me kind of loosen my mind up, especially coming from a business environment, working on analytical stuff a lot and then trying to be creative. It was a good way to transition. And recently, another comic friend of mine, Jeremy Nelson, he's a really good drummer, and we started just sort of jamming together. And I've picked the guitar back up, and I really love it. It's a lot of fun. I can do things now that I couldn't do when I was younger. And now that I've started to really learn more about the fretboard and the instrument itself, and really try to apply myself to it, it's been a lot of fun. And then it's also, I think, helped me in my writing, which is, so I do see the association between comedy and music, and even science. I think it's it's all sort of they're all complementary to each other.
Oh yeah, that's clever to do to like play drums before you, as kind of like the transition. That's really clever. I think drums are really cool. I can't really play them. I want to, but I think drums are really cool because you get to play with your whole body.
Yeah, they're fun. Yeah, the rhythmic aspect of it. But I've gotten back into the guitar now, and I let Jeremy handle the drums.
Oh, that's fair.
'Cause he's a good drummer, and it's fun. But music's magical though. Really, all forms of art. There's a lot of magic in it. It's that state of consciousness you can put yourself in. When did you start playing music?
So I started playing my own music and like sharing my own songs that I had written in 2015.
Okay.
So however long that's been.
That's when you first started playing guitar and stuff, or and singing?
No. So that's when I first started playing my own music. Writing songs. That is right around when I finally started to click with the guitar. I had tried few times before, but it never really stuck.
Wow.
But yeah, so like probably around 2014 is when I started playing guitar. And then 2015, I started writing songs to sing and perform for myself. But before that, I grew up in church, like around a very musically inclined family that were kind of the head of this whole ministry in church here in Greensboro.
Okay.
And so that was my introduction to music, because everybody sang and it's like these beautiful harmonies, and but it was all like around and centered in church. Yeah. And that was the bulk of my interaction. I played like clarinet and oboe in middle school, but that was for the most part it until 2015.
Wow.
It just kind of, the rest was like, here, you know, like I would sing to myself, or like in college I was a theater major, so I did a little bit of musical theater.
Okay.
But yeah, that was it.
That's cool. Now both of your brothers are musicians too, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so you have definitely a musical family.
Oh yeah. Yeah. And they both sing. Like I be telling people that I don't think that I'm really the most talented person in my family. I just
You're pretty talented.
They're pretty yeah.
And that's another thing
Thank you.
for people that are interested in pursuing music, that should be inspiring, because you're a really good guitarist and singer. Mm-hmm. And I assumed that you've been playing guitar since you were a little kid. But if it's only been 7 years, that's amazing. But it just shows that you really work at it. Like you must spend a lot. How much time do you spend a day rehearsing?
That's funny. I don't spend anywhere near as much as I should. I think I have like a natural, well, I say natural, like ability to pick up on musical things and sounds and instruments pretty quickly. But I don't think that just came out of nowhere. And I attribute that to the early sounds that I heard, like because my family is so musically inclined, like singing, and again, like in church we would sing harmonies. So even though I wasn't making a conscious decision to make or create music with any instrument, I still was like hearing all of that. So I feel like that definitely set me up. Sure. But yes,
your life was heavily influenced by musicians.
Yes. Yeah. But to answer your question, I probably practice. I'm like embarrassed to say how much I practice.
Well, you don't have to say if you don't want to.
I won't. Look, I do sing every day.
That's good.
Yeah. That is like my primary instrument.
I've been practicing guitar at least 2 hours a day.
And
I feel like that you can really advance pretty quickly at that rate. Mm-hmm. But it's such a complicated instrument too. It's so complex.
It is, and it's like a world of possibilities, especially when you start to go past just the typical 4 easy or more comfortable like chord. What is it? Fingerings for the chord. Or chord positions.
Like your open chords and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. Once you get past that, and then you start to go into different tunings, it's like a whole new world.
Scales and bar chords and all that stuff.
Right. Yeah. And I have like barely scratched the surface with that stuff. Okay, so I did not play guitar with the intention of like being the ultimate guitarist. I mean, like I always wanted to learn how to play just because it seemed interesting. Yeah. But I wasn't really that. Like even now, I'm not that committed to guitar. Like I'm way more committed to songwriting and to my vocal instrument. But
you're so good at it, though.
That's
really
the
are.
fun. I think part of it is like I don't care. So
you should care.
I just I mean, like I don't care, so I just play it the way I want to play it. So I don't be thinking about playing it. I mean, like put me in a jam band, and unless you can tell me what capo to put the thing on, I might not be able to follow along as easily, but yeah.
I like to just jam too. I like, I've always thought of, I guess I played more than I realized when I was younger because I had a lot of fundamental things when I picked it back up. So it wasn't completely alien. I didn't feel like a complete beginner. But I like to just play what sounds good to me. Like, I don't want to play other people's music. I just want to learn more about the instrument and how to make it express what I'm feeling in the moment. And that's what's so fun about it. And I really, until I played with Jeremy, I didn't really plan on playing guitar anymore, really. And I really just wanted to see him play the drums, see if he could teach me some different beats and stuff, maybe some different grooves. And then I was like, well, I'll just play the guitar while you drum, and then, and just play as long as you want. And when he started playing, I started playing guitar, and we started to, sync up and harmonize, and I was like, this is actually pretty fun. And then I started to make some sounds with the guitar that I've never made before, and do some things that I haven't done. And I was like, oh, I need to investigate this more. I need to pursue this instrument instead of the drums, because I'm actually more proficient with this. But it's, I think if you look at all like the best musicians, they're not playing other people's music. They're creating their own form of expression.
Yeah.
And that's
the part
what
that blows my mind.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's like your music is you. Like, it's, it's like your expression, and it's beautiful and it's amazing. It's really good.
That is something that I am proud of myself for, and like is, especially now that it has been some years, I'm a lot more aware of like what my sound is, and I'm becoming more articulate as an artist and as a person. But when it comes to guitar, I still I think it's amazing seeing these incredible guitar players who can just make a guitar sing and do like these, they just express, they really bring like their voice out in that instrument.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'll be like the lead guitar player, but I do have a unique style, and I do, and like what I do, I enjoy like leaning into that. And I've been having some fun lately and just learning, okay, so the parts that do, so like I might not pick, but I might not, like have a bunch of those, what is it, just single notes, but I'll do a lot of strumming, have like a unique strumming style. And so finding ways to lean into that and then expand from there, instead of trying to create the motivation to sound like something else,
right?
So that's kind of like where I've been more so lately.
Just let it evolve with your music.
Evolve with my natural, because I get like really scared of being stale or stuck or getting caught in my own routine.
Right.
So I'm always like trying to changing, but it is like expanding from like what my natural inclination might be to, and then kind of like make sure and then go from there. Yeah.
When you work with other artists, do they give you like little, I guess, tips and tricks or like little licks that you can use? Or
Oh, I do get that from some people. It's been a little while. Well, no, because I get stuff from people all the time, but especially when I was doing open mics more. Because I feel like I had this like, I don't know if it's everywhere, but when I was coming up in the open mic scene in Chicago, it was like we had our little like graduating class or such and such. So it was like where I had started going, there was a group of folks that, we were all going at the same time for pretty regularly, for a few years. And then, life continues to expand and everybody starts to go other ways, or they play other shows or do more stuff. But I picked up so much from those folks especially. And so like me coming from North Carolina, raised, and like having my like gospel sounds from church, in addition to all of the other music that I listen to, but then like going to Chicago and being around all these like Midwestern songwriters, and looking at the things that they did with their guitars, and that like definitely influenced my sound on guitar and like songwriting wise.
Sure, yeah. Surround yourself with other talented people, and it's contagious, right?
Yeah, you have to be mindful. I believe that wholeheartedly. Like, and I was taught that at a very early age. Like, you have to be mindful of the things that you allow in.
Yes.
Because everything, be it a color, a flower, a person, a video, everything, whether you want it to be a heavy influence or not, everything that you take in through your senses leaves an imprint.
Yeah.
And therefore there's an opportunity for it to influence your work and who you are. And so like, there's a lot of things that we just won't have control over. So when it comes to things that I'm intentionally putting in front of my face or in my ear, you have to be like really mindful of those things.
I agree. Yeah, that's why I'm real careful. Like if I'm watching something before I go to bed, that I don't fall asleep with my AirPods in, because I don't want to fall asleep listening to something. Like if it goes to another video or something, I don't want to fall asleep while I'm listening to something I'm not sure what it is,
Yeah.
So I don't want to be influenced by it.
How many like that is like that's kind of like the weirdest thing when you like wake up and you've been like looking at YouTube or something, and then you like wake up and you're like, what the hell?
What
like
happened?
what the fuck have I watched for the last hour and a half? I have no idea.
Yeah, that happens. But
that's what happens when you fall asleep watching Adult Swim as a kid. I'd wake up and be like,
oh yeah.
Like, what has gone in my brain? I have no idea.
Well, it's like we're idea machines. I always say that my ideas aren't my own, but all of our ideas are ours collectively, because we're just expressing all the ideas we're constantly bombarded with through our lives. Just millions of people's ideas, and I feel like if you can, as an artist, if you can hone your instrument and your ability to express ideas, then that's why your art will resonate with so many people. The better you get at your art, the more people that it resonates with, I think. And that's it's really interesting. It's almost like a telepathy.
Oh, yeah. Do you feel like that as a comedian, like when you're doing comedy?
I mean, comedy is for me. A lot of my comedy is sort of storytelling, and a lot of it's very personal. And so I get into some things that are just my maybe my perception of something or a topic or a premise, but a lot of my comedy is about me, and it's real personal. But also, it's even though it's about me, I know that a lot of people have similar experiences, and so when I think about that when I write, how is this going to resonate with other people? Am I expressing this the right way? Is this the correct articulation of this idea? And it has to be funny, most importantly, it has to be funny. But at the same time, for me, that's equally important. It has to properly articulate whatever I'm trying to say, and I don't want it to be misconstrued or taken the wrong way. Even if I'm saying some crazy stuff, it needs to be conveyed that it's coming from a good place, a positive place, and just from experience, not a judgmental place or something negative.
Yeah.
But yeah.
That's like a hard thing to do with anything. I feel like it's even harder in performing arts. I feel like that's like the hardest thing to do it in, because it's just like a lot of stuff like music and comedy, it's just you up there, so you don't have those other people up there to feed off, like acting, I guess. It's like, I don't know,
acting is
scary.
same thing, because I started in acting, and I love acting. Acting is fun, but I enjoy comedy more because it's all my work. But yeah, that is true.
Oh, okay. I have a question. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, yeah.
But that made me think of something that really annoys me. So, like, I get, okay, so this is silly, but I'm going to ask it anyway. When you're coming up with the material for stand-up, do you write with other people? Like, do you make it a point? Like, is this like a big thing in the comedy world where it's like, oh, I got to write a joke with this person, or I got to write these jokes with this person?
We got to collab, bro.
It's not really, it's not as planned, but I do collaborate a lot with other comics.
Oh, you do?
We're always constantly giving each other ideas and listening to each other's material, and we'll say, hey, have you thought about this tag or this, have you thought about saying this, or maybe looking at it from this perspective? I'm always about collaborating with other artists because the more brains, the better, right? Or the more minds, the better. And so I'll, it doesn't mean you have to use that tag or whatever, but it may inspire you to have another idea or to look at your material from another perspective. And so when I first started comedy, I would approach it more like writing a script. I would write out all my bits and my set and everything, and then just rehearse it like I'm acting almost. Which, like the way I was trained in acting, you still have to have a point of view. It's got to be real. But but with, I was really fortunate to start comedy when I did because I got to work with some really very experienced veteran comics that have been doing it for over a decade, sometimes decades, and then in some cases. And then it changed my writing format. So now I just constantly take notes in my phone, just if I have a funny idea for a premise, and I'll put that note in my phone. Then I just let my mind think about it, and I'll start to develop like punchlines or tags for that material, and then I'll put those in my notes too, and then I'll go on stage and I'll just start talking about that on stage with other material that's already been more developed, so it's not too clunky. And then the more you talk about it on stage, the more you find in that material. You find the way it should be structured and the funny aspects or elements of that bit. And then once it reaches a certain level of maturity, then I'll write it into my actual set, and that way I've got it recorded, and that'll allow me to move on to other material as well, and start working out new bits or rewriting bits, because I'm always rewriting material too. But I try to do most of my writing on stage now, or at least on stage, and then listening to recordings. And when I'm listening to myself, I can say, oh, I should say this here, or I should rewrite this, or this isn't funny enough. People aren't reacting the way I want them to this specific bit or punchline or tag. And that allows you to improve that material. And then all that stuff I do in my notes, and then I'll work it out on stage again and see if it gets a better response. If it does well, then I'll write it in my set. And it's probably like that with music too, I would imagine, like songwriting. Are there certain...
I guess it depends on who you ask.
I mean, are there certain parts of your songs like you rewrite occasionally, or?
Some people do that. I don't do that.
Okay.
I feel like once a song is done, then it's done, and that's the I think of it as like a piece of art. Like like any, like as it is, but like a painting, for example. I guess there are some forms of art that lend themselves a little bit more to being like constantly adapted or changed.
Yeah.
But I think of it like that, like a painting perhaps, where it's like once I'm done with it and it's, like I've said, okay, this is the song, that's pretty much it. And if maybe it needs to be said maybe if it needs to, I haven't said all that I needed to say or didn't say it well enough, then that's for another circumstance, because I mean, like I feel like most of the songs I write, a lot of the stuff we do is just articulating the same 3 or 5 points over and over again, right? But like,
there's so much nuance in human experience.
Oh yeah, definitely. I guess like in a general sense, so it's like brokenheartedness, like to explore that, but. Yeah, typically, like once I finish a song, I let it be. But I do believe that for me, and maybe not everybody would say this, but I don't feel like I can't fully trust a song to be complete until I've performed it in front of people a few times, because it's always different, like me practicing it in my room or wherever in private. And then when, mixing that with nerves and the energy that other people will give you or that will exist in a moment, that's like really what brings it to, I guess, kind of like makes it a full-blown song baby.
Right.
So
Song baby. I like
what's
that.
your writing process?
well, it kind of is like there's not like any set way that I do it. And that was part of why I asked you that question, was because being in Nashville for a while, everybody's like, man, we got to co-write. You got to co-write. Like, that's everybody just is like, it's almost like they don't believe in writing a song by themselves, which is just interesting to me because songwriting is such a personal experience for me. It's like one of those things where I feel like it's like one of the, at least for a long time, it was one of the only places where I could really speak freely or be myself or think freely and get things out that I wasn't able to say in anywhere else. So for me, doing that in mixed company, is kind of a weird thing. And I can be very controlling when I'm writing the song, because that is like, it's me. I'm already battling myself, trying to articulate what I'm going to say. So then to like add another perspective, and that can be really difficult. But
that's any
like,
artist though, right? That's because we're all that way. Like
that's true.
If you're painting something and somebody came up and added a paint stroke, like a brush stroke to your painting, you ruined my painting.
Yeah.
It's like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
I have a background in graphic design, and that helped me a lot with collaboration, because I've always been an artist, and when I was a kid, I used to draw and paint a lot and stuff, and I couldn't stand for people to try to mess with my artwork. Like, it's my artwork, let me just do it and I'll figure it out. And there is some value to that too. My daughter, she's 6 and she loves to draw and write, and that's kind of how she expresses herself, which is cool. But if you try to give her advice on like her drawings and stuff, she really pushes back. I'm like, you're right. You figure out how to express yourself through this format, this medium. And when you reach a certain level of experience or mastery or whatever of your art, it's going to be uniquely you. It's going to, because her art looks like her. Like it's a very specific style. It started out years ago as just stick figures. Now they've become these humanoid looking characters, and they have a really specific style to them that's important to her. And I'm like, oh, that's really the beauty in the expression, of art. But then when I was in school for graphic design, they taught us, in the design world, you can't be the only artist. Like, you have to share your ideas with other people and let other people contribute and collaborate and brainstorm ideas and help you. You can do the work, if it's a project you're working on, but let other people in the creative, let other creatives in your environment help influence the progression of this piece that you're working on. And because more minds are stronger than just your mind, and they'll help you see the things you're not paying attention to. So I've always kind of been open-minded in that way since then with art. All my art is, not saying that if you're doing a painting that you let somebody else come and paint on it. It's just, if someone says, hey, have you thought about like doing this or adding this thing, that may be an interesting idea to explore. Or like with comedy, I think with comedy especially, it's helpful because it's so easy for me to get caught in just one point of view. And then somebody that has a completely different point of view would say, hey, have you thought about this? Like, no, I haven't. That's amazing. And then it just opens up a whole new doorway of ideas for a certain bit. And the weird thing about comedy is, unlike music, is, like music, you can write a song and then it's expressing something exactly the way you want to express it, and you're saying what you want to say. But in comedy, you can be saying exactly what you want to say, but it's not funny enough. And that's where that's where the complexity in comedy is like, I want to say this, but it has to be funny. And it's like, how can I make this complicated idea really funny? And it's got to be funny a lot. So it's
and you do a lot of storytelling stuff too, and I feel like I do as well.
Yeah.
It's like, of course it's funny to me because I was there, How do I make it funny for people who weren't there, who didn't grow up in the whatever scenario that made this funny for me? It's like trying to make it accessible for everyone else listening. Like when you were talking about wanting to keep, like, not when a song is done, it's done. It's almost like when you're writing it, it's like a screenshot of what your life was like when that was written. So, like, of course you don't want to go back and rewrite it, you know, because it's like, that's how I felt and whatever when that happened. So, like, I feel like that's kind of the difference with music and comedy.
And
like
comedy is not as pretty as music either. So you can't, you have to, it has to constantly change or you'll lose interest in I mean, it does reach a level of like, you do have bits that reach like their final level. Like this is a good bit. Like I'm happy with this bit. I can not worry about this one anymore because it's going to be on my set. So when I go do shows, this bit is right. And then, but all, you know, you're constantly rewriting material and writing new material.
Yeah, it's those nuances that you mentioned, like, because with songwriting, it's there on either side. You have to. This is why I think like comedy and music making are so like aligned, because you still have to be able to capture a person's attention. Like if I'm trying to convey a feeling, an emotion, or an idea through a song, I can't just say, oh my gosh, that box is red. I like red boxes. How cool. Like I have to either find a way to say those exact words that kind of don't really have any poetic flow to them. I have to find a way to melodically piece them together to make sense. Or I have to find a way to convey that idea in poetic words or in some kind of organized chaos. Like there has to be some kind of like thing to bring it together that can bring the listener along for the ride. And like comedy, particularly with your style, which is more storytelling, you have to be conscious of how you're introducing the story, of how you're setting it up. And you really have to take people on this almost emotional, I don't know if it's almost or just is an emotional ride to help set them up to be prepared to laugh for, you know, for when the punchline comes. So it's all meticulous and thought out. And that's part of why I feel so proud about songwriting, I think, is because performing is so giving. And that's not to say that once a song has been created, I don't collaborate, because I see the value, and I think collaboration is really great, especially when creating songs. So like in my recordings, when I have like other instrumentalists that are playing along with me, like a band, like on a band song or something like that. In those situations, even though the song, I couldn't write the song with anybody else, when it comes time to play the song or convey the song, like it exists. What we're creating is for that moment. So it includes whoever's present, like it. And I think it's important to acknowledge the value of everybody's presence in those moments. So if it's at a performance, then the energy of a song or the way that I perform this song, even though I wrote it, is going to be contingent on the energy that's in the room. And that's contingent on everybody that's there. So naturally that's going to be a collaborative, I mean, like, and if you want to think about it that way, you can think of it as like a collaborative experience. And every time I perform a song, it's different because of that. Or if you want to take it to a studio setting, when I work with other musicians, sometimes I think I'm starting to become more like aware of maybe like a bass line that I hear or something like that. But for the most part, I trust the people that if I've already decided I'm going to work with you, then there's already something about you that I trust, and I trust that you will be able to, I trust your capabilities and your talent and your perspective to mesh with this song that I've created. So It's more like, here's a song I created. Now you do whatever you want to do. And my experience has been really cool because I don't know, I feel like I've been very fortunate to be able to bring out the things that I like in that I want out of the people that I collaborate, like musicians that I collaborate with. So then that's cool because it's like I could have never written that guitar part, but like in this moment, that's what came, and it's just like perfect for this song.
That's
so
cool.
That's where the collaborative part really becomes fun for me.
That's what I love about just jamming with music is it's almost like a language of its own. It really is a language. It's like you're expressing through an instrument, and it's almost like it's a form of singing. Mm-hmm. It's really interesting. Have you ever listened to Chris Buck?
No.
He's a really good guitarist.
Okay.
In the UK, and he plays like a bluesy rock type music, and it's like he sings with his guitar, and he's a really good lead guy, and he thinks that, he said he looks at his fretboard as he thinks of it lengthwise instead of in horizontal sections. Like a lot of people think of it as like these shapes of scales and stuff. Mm-hmm. But he moves up and down the neck of the guitar a lot of times without raising his fingers off the fretboard. So it's like these long harmonious slides and stuff. It's really beautiful, and it is. He's like when you're singing, you don't jump from one note to the next. You smoothly transition to these different notes, and that's what he's done what he does with the guitar, and it's really amazing.
It's like it's like a throat, like with vocal cords.
Yeah, it sings. Yeah, it's really
literally
amazing.
A neck, a guitar neck. Yeah.
Yeah.
But he's just mastered the instrument. But yeah, so it's all music is just, I guess. Well, all art is some form of vulnerable expression, I guess.
It's a language, I guess.
Language.
For lack of a better word.
Yeah.
And like you said, performing music is very intimate, and it is because any performance art, really all art is vulnerable. But I feel like performance art is really vulnerable if it's live. Like either live music or comedy, because you're in the moment. You don't want to get in your head. You don't want to. You just have to learn to let go, and I'm still learning to let go and be in the moment, and really, and when you do that, it's really magical because you it's like your mind links up with all these people, this audience, and you take them for this ride, and when it works, it's really beautiful.
Yeah. There's only one way. I feel like there's got to be like only one way to do that, and that's just to do it. And there's like no way of knowing how many times you have to do it to get comfortable with it. Because some people, they right off the bat, they can just be free and like not think. And then other people have to do it 100 times before they get to really like internalize the lesson. Like, no, just let go. Just do it. So yeah, it's like, I feel like that's because in the process of doing anything, which I feel like not to put this on some kind of like critical social commentary or anything like that, but I feel like nowadays it's so easy to forget the like, I guess, commitment that things require in order to become comfortable with them or become good at them. And that's be it music or writing or relationships or, that's really anything. And we're so accustomed now to like getting things, to just having experiences be so like easy and accommodating.
It's true.
So yeah, that's something that I'm constantly like challenging myself to do. Because I'm still, as a performer, I'm still not at the place where I want to be or where I know I can be or envision myself to be. But still gotta like just enjoy the ride and the moments, right? Because that's what makes those individual performances like good, is that you're there and you're present and you're being free then and there. And so just have to like let yourself be what you are in that moment. So then like you can show up the same way in the next, and then, until all of a sudden you find yourself feeling a lot more comfortable with it. But yeah.
Yeah, every time you do it, it gets a little better, right?
Yeah.
You gain something each
Theoretically,
time.
maybe not. Maybe sometimes
Well,
you
sometimes you go
realize.
backwards.
Sometimes it's like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Now I remember why I learned that lesson.
Yeah, we forget, all right? So, that's cool. How long, so after you started playing and writing and singing, how long was it before you started doing live shows? And when did you know you were ready or you wanted to do it?
Honestly, I don't think I thought about it. I was just like, as soon as I got up the courage to do an open mic, I was like, okay, so we just do this. So, because I gave myself a year. So I had decided that I was going to actually like follow through on this inclination that I had that I kept secret to myself. And I was like, I'll give it a year and see what happens. So I guess I was I kind of like went into it all in, just ready to perform or whatever. I guess I just felt like I needed to just do it. So I guess the open mics, they just kind of gave me the opportunity to do it. And then like once I started doing open mics, then it was like people were asking me to do shows. And then all of a sudden I was doing shows. And nice. I have like enough songs even early on, like, cause I was like writing songs all the time. So like, yeah, I had pretty early on, I had enough songs to like be able to do however long. Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
Unless it was like a 2 hour or a 2 or 3 hour gig, which I did every once in a while. And I would have to learn covers and I would get so mad. So I would find like the like most basic covers, like only the songs that I liked, like Believe by Cher, or like, trying to think of another one, just random songs. And it wasn't that many. And I could never, I think I always mess up cover songs, but yeah, except for that, I always did pretty good.
Okay.
Early.
How often do you write?
I don't have a schedule, but it's not as often as I would like now. I think it's hard to say because it's not like I write a song a week or a song a day or something like that. I just write when it comes, and I write every day, like even if it's not a song. Okay. Yeah. So I do write every day, but as far as like writing songs, it just kind of when it comes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. That's cool. How many songs do you have now?
Oh man, I don't know. I should count them. And I feel like I used to say something like, oh, I think I have like something like, like over 100 songs. That's what I used to say. And I used to think that was a big deal. But I feel like if I said that now, people would be like, girl, that ain't nothing. Like I heard there was it was like a Rihanna album where it was Loud, her album Loud. They had wanted to make it kind of like the Michael Jackson Thriller, where every song you heard on it was a hit. And so I heard that they wrote like 200 songs for that album in like 2 weeks or something like that.
Whoa.
Right.
How many writers though?
That's a good question. I don't know.
That's a lot.
That's a good question. I forgot about that component. Everybody's not writing songs by themselves.
Yeah. Yeah, like if you're a singer-songwriter writing 200 songs in a couple weeks, that's
2 weeks,
crazy.
oh my gosh.
Well, if that's possible.
Alexander Hamilton over there.
Yeah, all those people dancing with her at the Super Bowl, those were her writers.
Yeah.
Looked like a lot.
I know some songwriters, they've written thousands of songs. So
yeah.
They say they write so much that it's just easy for them to write songs. Like when they have an idea, it just sort of falls into place.
Mm-hmm. I think like I admire that, but I also am like not in a rush to get to that point. Yeah. Because I feel like if I get to that point, that means that I've had either I've been doing songwriting for a long time, or I created a discipline out of it. Or no, I won't say that, because there's different ways and different types of discipline that you can create in songwriting. But I think if I get to that point, so if I get to that point, it either means that I have been writing songs for a long time, or I've just done it so much, like just knocking song after song after song, kind of like mechanically. And that makes me uncomfortable. Like there's a certain side of the whole like discipline practice
There needs to
model
be like thought in it, I guess.
No, it's just like that still makes me uncomfortable. Not saying that it's bad or anything, but the idea of like, it's hard for me to do things that, like anybody, it's hard for me to do things or perform tasks that I don't want to do.
Yeah.
And like my body is very resistant. It's a very stubborn body.
Yeah.
So like,
you don't want to take the fun out of it.
That it's partly that, but it's also like, I feel like everything that can serve some positive purpose, because we live in like this hyper capitalistic world, which again is not necessarily a bad thing, but it can make it, for me, I'm always weary of taking anything that is like a good thing for me and turning it into a product or something that needs to be like churned out,
productivity driven.
Yeah. So I'm very cautious of doing that. And like I said, and going back to the whole like co-writing thing, I'm just very protective of my songwriting space. And for me, because it is what it is for me, like it's such a big part of how I process life, that again, I'm like just very protective of it. And that's from outside people and inside forces that might want to use it for things that it doesn't necessarily want to be used for. So but then that could also just very well be an excuse for me for why I don't practice or write songs.
Well, there are no rules, right?
Something. That's true.
There's no rules. You make your own rules. It's your construct. So,
that's true.
And it's art. So whatever feels right to you is what you should be doing, I'm sure. Yeah.
That's true. But you got to be accountable to something. Otherwise,
as long as it's good, as long as what you're making is good, and it is, so you're doing the right thing. Clearly.
Fair.
Yeah. What's next? Do you have any big shows coming up, or?
I do have a couple. So there's some really cool shows that I have that I'll be doing. So I'll be at the Luck Reunion Festival with this group called Black Opry Review, and they're just like a collective of folks who do a lot of like in the round style stuff, but they perform as a group. We all do our own individual stuff. So I'll be with them. And then like, just for like my own solo stuff, I am very excited because I have some songs coming out this year. So my first one I'll be sharing on the 21st of February. So,
nice.
And that song is called 24 Hours. And so a very interesting twist of fate happened last year, at the end of last year, literally right before I had double jaw surgery. I had a friend that I met at a festival and invited me to their studio out in Austin to record some songs. And I had no idea what I was walking into. I thought I was walking into a jam session, and it turned out to be like a whole studio situation. Oh. So I pieced some songs together. Luckily I'd already been working on some stuff. So I was able to get like 4 or 5 songs that we recorded. Nice. And with like a couple of studio musicians out there that were really great. And so I'll be releasing those songs over the course of the year. And it's like the first studio artwork that I've had the pleasure of doing in like 4 or 5 years. So,
that's cool.
Yeah.
Nice.
I think like 4 years or so. So I'm looking forward to like sharing that with people.
Where can we find it? Where will it be at?
Bandcamp. Nikki
Okay.
Morgan. So if you go on Bandcamp and look up Nikki Morgan, look on MissNikkiMorgan.com, and my music will be there. And then I'm also on like streaming services like Spotify and stuff like that.
Okay, nice.
Yeah.
And you're on YouTube and
YouTube,
Instagram and all that too, yeah.
YouTube and Instagram, yeah.
Facebook, sure.
Just look up Miss Nikki Morgan and you'll find everything you need to know.
Do you have any? Do you plan on moving to Nashville, or are you going to stay in North Carolina? What's your goal there?
I don't know. It's
wherever the opportunity is, right?
I have to see where the wind blows. I'm still trying to so like for a while I was kind of bound to North Carolina because I had some like medical stuff that I was taking care of in the last year. I had like a couple of surgeries, and I've been back in North Carolina for a little bit. And so now I'm just assessing everything and seeing if it's best for me to stay here or if there's like some other places that I need to consider going. Yeah. But yeah, I'm here pretty often.
That's cool.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have any local performances coming up here?
Local performances. I think, I'll be at Merle Fest.
Oh, nice.
Year.
That's a big one. Yeah,
I forgot about that. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to that. Merle Fest, we're performing on the Friday night on the main stage.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Where is that at?
It's in Wilkesboro, North Carolina.
Okay, it's like northwest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What was that like with jaw surgery, like doing singing and stuff? What was that? How did you overcome that? And like,
it's still a process, and anybody that has seen or experienced the recovery from jaw surgery will understand when I say that it's one of the hardest things I've ever had to do. It is, I mean, like the surgery itself is hard, but it's like, it's trippy on an aesthetic front because I look in the mirror, and because it was double jaw surgery, my face looks different, and it's a very slight change now that most of the swelling has gone down. But overall, it's about a year-long process to fully recover. Oh. So swelling, you can have swelling up to a year. I still have a little bit of swelling, but my face shape is different. So I look in the mirror and I see a different face, and it looks very weird, very, very weird. But then mechanically, I have this whole new like infrastructure going on, and there were ways that my mouth was overcompensating. Like in some ways, some muscles didn't have the chance to be free. So like talking and singing is like this, it's new every day, and it's really frustrating because in a lot of ways I'm like learning how to eat, or like, chewing is like a new sensation. Like I couldn't chew normally because my teeth didn't meet. So chewing's a new sensation. Talking's weird because now some muscles don't have to work as hard, and some have to learn how to like pull their weight. Yeah. And singing is a whole different thing too. And some airways are more clear now. So it's a very trippy and hard and like frustrating experience, but it is very worth it. I can already I already know and sense and feel the benefits of it.
So you feel like it helps your singing?
Oh yes, already.
That's awesome.
Already.
Wow. That's good.
And I know that like in the next, because it's been about 3 months now, I know in the coming month things will get more settled. And because I mean, like, you got to think about it, it's like decades that my mouth and my everything has worked the way it was.
Yeah, sure.
So you have to just like allow for time to pass for everything to settle into its new place.
Yeah.
But yeah.
That's good. Is all the pain and stuff, is it gone away, or do you still have some of that?
No, it comes and flows. So like I actually, so like for the first 2 months, almost, I could not feel anything on my face below my like lower eyelid.
Oh my God.
So like cheeks down, there's like, I couldn't feel anything. And because they cut your face open, so they like cut through your nerves and everything. Okay. So, and plus, like, just with that healing, you don't want to have to feel anything.
Sure. Yeah.
But so sensation. So like on my cheeks, I've slowly started to get feeling back. But now at 3 months, I still cannot feel my lips. which is so funny, especially the bottom lip. Like the top lip, I can feel a little bit, but the bottom lip, I can't. I can't feel the roof of my mouth.
Whoa.
And there are like some parts like around my chin. So it's mostly like roof of my mouth, lips, and chin that I still can't feel. And it's so weird. Like everything feels tight. It's such a strange sensation. Like, you know, when you go to the dentist and they numb you and then you experience like all of the things when stuff is coming back, but like stretch that over like 6 months.
Whoa.
It's very weird. Yeah.
Now, do they say that the feeling will come back, or is it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. The nerves are coming back, and they will. I'm expected to get like fully back to where I was.
It's gonna be exciting feeling something come back one day. Like one day you're just gonna sigh, like, right. Like, hey, I felt that.
Like, right, I feel my lip. Oh, hey, girl.
Well, that's good. That's cool.
Yeah.
So it was a good choice then.
Oh yeah, it's fun. It's like it's a very frustrating process, and most people say that it's like the hardest thing they've ever done. But it's like a 99% success, like satisfaction rate.
That's great.
Yeah, people who have the surgery need the surgery, and you'd be surprised how many issues a person can experience because of misalignment in their jaw.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Yeah, or misfunction in their mouth.
I have a friend who has some misalignment. He's trying to he's going to see a specialist, and he'll probably have to have some kind of surgery too. And it's pretty painful for him, you know.
Yeah.
So I think it'll be a difficult experience, the surgery, but I think it'll be worth it in the long run.
Yeah. That's my 2 cents about it. It's weird too. Like new pains have come. Like now I feel like the bone, because now the consequence of having my nerves come back and being able to feel things again is like now I feel pain. So I feel some of those some of the pains from like where they cut my bone.
Yeah, the healing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I feel that a little bit.
Well, hopefully that won't last too long.
Yeah. No, it's cool. It's an experience I had to go through.
Well, Nikki, it's been a real pleasure having you in the studio.
Yeah.
Which camera am I? Is this me? Yeah. So if you guys be sure to go check out Miss Nikki Morgan, and follow her on Instagram, social media, on YouTube, SoundCloud, right? SoundCloud.
Mm-hmm.
And watch her music. She's incredibly talented. Show her some love and support, and can't wait to see you perform. I can't wait till the next time I can see you perform live.
Yeah.
And when is Merle Fest?
Merle Fest is April 28th.
Okay. Do you have any Greensboro concert or shows coming up?
The 25th of February, I'll be at Summerfield Farms.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. That's not too far from where I live.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Cool.
Nice.
Yeah.
But,
me and my brother will be there.
Okay, cool.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. Are you doing any more variety shows?
I want to. Yeah.
Hey, you should. That was a good show.
Yeah. I
really
really wanted. Yeah. It's something that's building. It's growing. It's
awesome.
becoming refined.
Yeah. It was great. It was fun.
I'm glad you enjoyed it.
Yeah, for sure. Well, again, it's been a pleasure having you on.
Yeah.
Great to see you.
My pleasure.
And hope you guys enjoyed the episode. If you did, be sure to like and subscribe. See you next week. Bye, guys.